3 questions. This story is about a king who has 3 questions and approaches a hermit for the answers to his questions. Once, there was a king who had 3 questions. The questions were: when is the right time to begin something? Whom should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? The king sent messengers to look for people who could answer these questions satisfactorily. Many wise men came and gave different answers to the king's questions. To the king's first question about the right time to begin something, some people suggested that the king follow a timetable. Others recommended that the king appoint a council of wise men to decide the best time to act. Some even suggested that the king consult magicians. To the king's second question about who he should listen to, the wise men were divided in their opinion between counselors, priests, doctors, and soldiers as the most important people. To the king's third question about the most important thing he should do, the wise men suggested science, war, or religious worship. Often, the wise men contradicted each other, and the king was not satisfied with their answers. Finally, he decided to approach a hermit. The king disguised himself in simple clothes and went to the jungle where the hermit lived. He found the hermit digging the ground. The king put forth his questions to the hermit and asked the hermit what he thought. The hermit didn't respond and continued digging the ground. The king noticed that the hermit seemed tired, so he took over the digging. Whenever the king repeated his questions, the hermit ignored him. When it was dark, the king stopped digging and turned to the hermit again. Just then, a wounded man came running towards them. The man collapsed from weakness. The king cleaned the man's wound and they took him inside the hut. The next morning, the man revealed that he had come to kill the king and avenge his brother's death. He mentioned that the king's bodyguard had wounded him before he escaped. Since the king had saved his life, the man promised to be a faithful servant to the king. The king was pleased and forgave the man for attempting to kill him. Before leaving, the king returned to the hermit and pleaded for the answers to his questions. The hermit replied that the king's questions had already been answered. He explained that if the king had not stayed back to help him with the digging, he would have gone away and the man would have killed him. So, the most important time was the time the king spent digging. The most important person was the hermit, and the most important business at that time was helping the hermit. Then, when the wounded man arrived, the most important time was the time spent caring for him. He was the most important person, and saving his life was the most important business. The hermit told the king that the most important time is now. The most necessary person is the person you are with at a particular moment, and the most important business is to do that person good.